magic mirror. Who's the fairest of them all?
Why, Shrek, of course.
Yeah, we need to talk.
Ew, Dad!
Ooh, Mommy like.
Who's making this stuff?
Not me!
Whoa!
Like many others, I was caught off guard when the Shrek 5 teaser trailer, cast announcement, because apparently that's a thing now, as if the trailer before the trailer trend wasn't enough. Anyways, when it suddenly dropped yesterday. In no time, it had the internet buzzing and shot to #1 in trending on every social media platform, but not for the reasons Universal would have liked. My first thoughts were, why does it look so weird, and where could they possibly take this story now? Obviously, there's not much we can learn from a less than 30-second cast announcement, but what we do know from this is that all 3 original leads are returning, and the only new cast member that's been announced is Zendaya. Not much of a cast announcement when it's only announcing one person. I mean, what about her 2 brothers? Are they still around? Did she eat them? Judging by the emphasis they're choosing to put on her character, the film could explore Shrek and Fiona's life as parents to a bunch of teenage, angsty ogres, with Zendaya's Felicia character taking center stage. Which could work as long as she can manage to keep up with the lively performances of the veteran voice actors she'll be surrounded by. But why studios continue to think that audiences care about casting big-named actors in animated movies, I will never understand. Especially ones first and foremost for kids. They don't care who's voicing who, but for the adults, all I ask is that you bring some life to the performances, and while Zendaya can shine in shows like Euphoria, it seems like an odd choice to single out her involvement in such a way that puts the emphasis on announcing her casting rather than focusing on the legacy characters we've come to know and love. But that's probably just me nitpicking. Overall, her new character design definitely looks the best out of the bunch, but we'll get to why they look so funny later. As for the magic mirror gag, browsing Shrek memes like on TikTok and a bit of meta humor as a nod to the countless memes that Shrek has spawned over the years, it makes total sense. Although, is it just me, or does Mr. Mirror look like he's had a bit of sculpting work done at the ye olde med spa in Far, Far Away? Of course, the mirror has been used in all sorts of ways in past films, including like a TV, so using it like a smartphone on social media seems like the next logical step. The Shrek meme part is a bit on the nose, but this might not even make it into the film. Pop culture references and meta humor is baked into why it was so fresh and funny at the time, but there's a fine line between it coming off natural and trying too hard. Let's hope they don't take this joke too far to the point it becomes cringe.
How do you do, fellow kids?
In a modern entertainment landscape that is constantly churning out sequels, remakes, reboots, and reimaginings,
Make an original? Why would I do that when I can make a sequel?
Sequel.
IPs and sequels. That is the thing that people want.
franchises like these are getting milked for every nickel and dime they could possibly be worth, quality be damned, leading more and more beloved series being pushed well past their expiration date. The Shrek franchise almost fell off a cliff to this with its 3rd installment, but redeemed itself for the most part with the 4th. But alas, we always knew this day would come. Final chapter my ass. In 2025 Hollywood, there is no such thing as a final chapter, and the journey to Shrek 5 has been long and filled with false starts, rumors, and strategic shifts at DreamWorks and its parent company, now Universal Pictures. Shrek, one of the most iconic animated film series of all time, known for its subversive humor, fairy tale satire, and heartfelt storytelling. It has had a massive cultural impact since its debut in 2001 and remains beloved by audiences worldwide, especially millennials who were the perfect age, and became a huge part of our childhood. But I can hear people now either asking, well, if you love it so much, then why don't you want it to continue? Or the opposite side of the spectrum, it's just a silly kids franchise, so why do you care so much? But that's just it. These weren't just silly kids movies. And even if they were, just because it was a family franchise doesn't make it automatically less quality. The medium of animation and family storytelling should be respected for their ability to reach parents and children alike. And Shrek is one of those franchises that truly has something for everyone to love. The first Shrek was a game changer for CG animation. Based on William Steig's 1990 picture book Shrek, which tells the story of a repugnant ogre who leaves home to find adventure, DreamWorks Animation, co-founded by Jeffrey Katzenberg, acquired the rights and saw potential for a film adaptation that would parody traditional Disney fairy tales. A fun yet equally tragic fact, originally Chris Farley was cast as Shrek, recording most of his dialogue before his tragic death in 1997.
People see me and they go, "Ah! Help! A big stupid
stupid, stinky, smelly, ugly ogre. They judge me before they even know me.
Mike Myers was brought in and famously decided to re-record his lines in a Scottish accent, which became one of the film's defining elements. Something he would do throughout his career as seen in other films like the cult comedy classic I Married an Axe Murderer and Austin Powers. Paired with Eddie Murphy as Donkey, the two comedic actors followed in the footsteps of other great vocal performances from comedians like Robin Williams as Genie, and those performances truly elevated the film. Obviously, there were other noteworthy stars who lent their voices to various roles throughout the series, like Cameron Diaz as Princess Fiona, who played another consistent role. The Shrek films were a satirical take on traditional fairy tales, turning classic tropes on their head. Shrek was just a regular ogre who wanted to be left alone and live his life in his swamp, turned into a reluctant hero, and Princess Fiona wasn't just some damsel in distress. Although I would argue that none of the original Disney princesses were that, but that's better left for another episode down the road. While it sought to subvert many older fairy tale tropes, Shrek and Fiona still got to fall in love on their own terms, and there was never more a revealing and sweet true love's first kiss than in that first film, and Donkey got his happy ending too. The film's edgy humor, music, pop culture references, and irreverent take on Disney-style storytelling made it a massive hit. It would go on to win the first ever Academy Award for Best Animated Feature and establish DreamWorks Animation as a serious rival to Disney and Pixar. Shrek 2 in 2004 took everything that made the first film great and amplified it, becoming what many regard as one of the best sequels ever made. The introduction of Puss in Boots, voiced by Antonio Banderas, became a fan favorite and has since spawned 2 spin-off films. The plot expanded the world of Shrek, introducing Fiona's royal parents and a new villain, the fairy godmother, who in my humble opinion has one of the best musical numbers put to film ever.
Hit it!
It's still a banger. Shrek 2 became the highest-grossing animated movie at the time, earning nearly $1 billion worldwide. Its impact was massive, from the I Need a Hero sequence to Shrek and Donkey's comedic moments. It also continued the use of impeccably chosen pop songs that had real narrative purpose, which the franchise would become known for. They were 2 nearly perfect movies, but they couldn't help themselves. 3 years later, we would be graced with Shrek the Third. By this time, Shrek had become a cultural icon, with merchandise, a stage musical in the works, and memes galore. Seriously, so many memes.
Look at this dog walk! Whoa, what speed on that dog walk! Redirects a little bit, make sure they get that. Push, push, push! Into that tunnel.
We got to see him struggle with impending fatherhood and searching for Fiona's cousin, Arthur, voiced by Justin Timberlake, to take over the throne. While it was financially successful, critics and fans, me included, found it weaker than its predecessors. It just couldn't live up to the standards the first 2 had set, and the shameless stunt casting of Timberlake didn't do it any favors, so let's hope the same fate doesn't befall Zendaya. It's safe to assume the studio knew it too, and they were able to be somewhat redeemed when in 2010 we got Shrek Forever After, dubbed The Final Chapter. Seriously, we should know by now to never believe anything that says final or last. It never is. Shrek Forever After explored a what-if scenario where Shrek makes a deal with Rumpelstiltskin and ends up in an alternate reality where he never rescued Fiona. It aimed to wrap up Shrek's story arc in a satisfying way, showing his realization that he had everything he wanted all along. While it performed well financially, the consensus seems to be that it was a solid but unremarkable conclusion to the series. Even though the original intent was for that to be the last, the then CEO of DreamWorks, Jeffrey Katzenberg, hinted in an interview that they weren't done with Shrek, suggesting that DreamWorks had ideas for at least one more movie, but no concrete plans were in place. Despite being financially successful, it didn't have the same cultural impact as Shrek 2, but I was just happy they didn't ruin Shrek and Fiona's relationship for the sake of drawing it out longer. Even though we haven't seen Shrek since, we have gotten more stories from the Shrek universe with the 2 Puss in Boots movies, which came out 10 years apart, and surprised just about everyone with how good The Last Wish ended up being. It exceeded expectations, grossing over $480 million worldwide, but The Last Wish would also mark a darker tone and new look to the animation, leading more into the style seen in the Spider-Verse movies. I personally really enjoyed The Last Wish, finding the dynamic between Puss and Death to be the most interesting part of the movie, but the new style wasn't a huge hit with everyone, with some finding it jarring and leaving them worried for what changes would be made going forward, being that it left off on a pretty big reveal that teased the return of Shrek and company.
Off to find new adventures and to see some old friends.
Which brings us to the reason why the characters look different in the cast announcement teaser. NBC Universal, the parent company of Illumination, the studio behind Despicable Me and the Super Mario Bros. Movie, bought DreamWorks Animation for $3.8 billion in 2016. CEO and Illumination founder Chris Meledandri took charge of DreamWorks and confirmed in 2023 that Shrek 5 was in development. With the original cast returning and the writer of Austin Powers and Boss Baby, Michael McCullers, hired to write the script. While this choice should give some hope given the humor in both those films and his past work with Mike Myers, he went on record in 2017 saying that reinvention was sort of called for. There's been 4 movies and a lot of material, so the characters are pretty beloved and they're great characters, but you have to think of a pretty new take at that point. So the key word here being reinvention. The redesign of the characters in Shrek 5 reportedly stems from a combination of technological advancement and creative decisions aimed at modernizing the franchise. At this point, the word modernize is becoming a trigger word for anyone who once loved a thing getting remade. DreamWorks Animation has also embraced Moonray, an open-source rendering engine first utilized in 2019's How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World. This technology enables more physically accurate lighting, smoother textures, and refined character features, leading to the changes in the characters' appearances. Then there's the 15-year gap since Shrek Forever After came out, which has seen significant evolution in animation aesthetics. The updated design in Shrek 5 seems to reflect a shift towards a rounder, more polished look, consistent with modern DreamWorks films. For example, they no longer have that little indent above their top lips. While some have likened it to being Disneyfied, the term illuminated would be a more accurate description if you compare the new look with Illumination's signature carbon copy styles, which I have no problem admitting that I am not a fan of. With Shrek and Fiona's children now being teenagers, they've clearly chosen to give the original characters signs of aging, like crow's feet around Shrek's eyes, but my god, what have they done to Fiona and Donkey? Donkey now looks almost too realistic and really skinny. Let's hope Dragon is treating him right because he looks as if he might be getting the Ryan Reynolds treatment. And then there's Fiona. Where are her teeth? She either looks like she doesn't have any or they're barely noticeable. The new looks will definitely take some getting used to, but the character design change due to modernization seems to just be an excuse to have them look more Illumination-y. Take Toy Story for example. As the films went on, the CG quality noticeably improved, but not once did it seem like the character models had drastically changed. Is this as heinous as the Sonic fiasco? No, but it really is going to come down to the story. If the story is good, many will be able to get past the changes, but if it's bad, they better watch out. Fans are already coming for them like villagers armed with pitchforks, downvoting the trailer into oblivion, and ratioing it when it's only been up for a day. People are fed up with bad faith continuations to once beloved franchises. The box office for Captain America: Brave New World has fallen off a cliff, and no one is looking forward to Disney's live-action Snow White coming out in a few short weeks. But I doubt this trailer will soar to the heights of hatred that trailer has gotten.
Weird.
One thing's for sure, the full-length trailer to this better be good. So there you have it. After what will be a 16-year gap, Shrek 5 is finally happening and will be released in December 2026. This seconds-long cast announcement has erupted the internet in mutual skepticism for what's to come of this movie. Luckily, we have a whole year for them to hopefully see the backlash and correct anything they possibly can. If nothing else, this might drive people back to the first 4. Yes, even the third one. We can all watch them and think back to better times and entertainment when everything was a little less corporatized and Hollywood actually had a sense of humor. As of now, it's a franchise that remains deeply loved for its humor, heart, and unforgettable characters. Even after more than 2 decades, it continues to capture new generations of fans. But what do you think? Are we all just overreacting? Do you think Shrek 5 will actually defy the odds and be good? If not, there's always the Donkey spin-off movie, which is in early development. Yay! And fingers crossed they update the title of the movie to be something a little more interesting than Shrek 5. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you will like and subscribe and share with us down below what your favorite Shrek movie is, or favorite meme or memory, either watching it as an adult for the first time or as a kid, or if you've gotten to pass on the love of Shrek to your children. And until next time, be safe and stay cultured.